Hey up guys, I'm Mason, the blind wrestling fan. This is Wrestling in the Dark. On this edition of the WITD Weekly, we'll be talking all of the stuff that caught my eye from the world of WWE this week. The Fiend and Alexa Bliss arrive on Raw. Andrade goes undrafted. The fate of Raw Underground. Multiple number one contenders set on NXT. The return of Daniel Bryan. The farewell of the New Day. And Roman Reigns tries to tempt Jey Uso over to the dark side. Want to hear about it? Stick with me. Buckle up and have fun. Don't forget to click the like button if you enjoy this episode, subscribe so that you don't miss any in future. For now, let's go! So, The Fiend and Alexa Bliss, now that they're officially aligned, have been drafted over to Raw. This one is a pretty interesting move, considering that they arrived in what I find a slightly weird, but also kind of makes sense sort of way. They attacked Andrade and Zelina Vega, which is confusing because why a creature from the pits of hell, from under your bed and in your closet and in your nightmares, why someone like that has beef with Andrade, I have no idea. But on the other hand, who else are they going to have mixed tag action with? There's not really any other mixed gender tag teams that they can put them against, so it sort of makes sense. At the same time, Zelina got drafted over to Smackdown, and Andrade was not drafted at all, as I mentioned in the opening, so this one was fairly interesting. I'm glad that they put The Fiend on Raw. He cannot afford to go against Roman Reigns right now. Roman ain't going to be losing anytime soon, and it's harmful to The Fiend to lose and lose and lose, and he's lost a lot this year. And I just feel like the mystique has already sort of lessened around him, and it's just a good idea to get him away from Roman Reigns. But at the same time, what else are they going to do with him on Raw? As I mentioned, if they're going to have him go against Andrade, this seems slightly weird and random, and having the mixed tag action, it could actually be really cool, but it's not going to last for like 6 months, and just down the line I just wonder where they can go with it. Having him go against Drew would be pretty cool, but at the same time I'm not keen for Drew to lose the championship anytime soon. But The Fiend wouldn't be a bad choice for him to lose it to down the line, so I guess you could go in that direction. I guess you could probably put him against Randy Orton, with them having their history. I can't particularly remember whether The Fiend and Randy Orton have had any run-ins since The Fiend became a thing. Someone will probably jump on me in the comments about it, but I can't remember particularly, so they could revisit that. I suppose there's a few things they could do, but I'm sort of hesitant about it. But I also am excited to see where they go. I'm glad that Alexa's getting this chance to really just be a different character from what she's been in the past. And I think that going against Andrade and Zelina is a really cool way to go, but considering that Zelina's on SmackDown and Andrade's undrafted, I just don't know what sort of sense that even makes. I guess it also just sort of sends Lena off and just writes her off Raw, which he didn't need to do because she's been drafted. Andrade going undrafted as well. That one, it seems like he'll end up on Raw. At the end of the day, it doesn't seem like they want to split up couples. Bianca Belair and whichever one of the Street Profits that she's married to went over to SmackDown. It's terrible. What an unprofessional man I am. I cannot remember which Street Profit she's married to. I don't really care, because I don't really like the Street Profits. I'm sure that they're talented. I'm sure that they are. There's just something about them that just doesn't click with me at all. But yeah, they didn't want to split them up, so Charlotte has been drafted to Raw, and it seems like Andrade will probably end up there too. So yeah, everyone's been really really quick to jump the gun. Surprise, surprise, wrestling fans want to jump the gun. They've been really quick to jump the gun with the Andrade thing. This is a travesty. How dare they do this? How dare they not draft him? How did this person get drafted and he didn't? And it's like, I'm just going to sit here with my I'm going to wait and see what happens hat on, because I feel like not being drafted can sometimes just be the best. Look at Heath Slater, and yeah, okay, putting Andrade and Heath Slater in the same sentence seems a little bit unfair to Andrade, considering that he's sort of in a different ballpark to Heath, which I hate saying that sort of thing, because it sounds harsh on Heath, because I actually really, really liked Heath Slater, but they're different sorts of characters. But at the same time, Andrade can be like, no one drafted me. How did they pass up a talent like me? I'm hot shit, man. And everyone just passed me up and nobody wanted me. And that can give him a bit of a chip on his shoulder. Or going against the Fiend, if that's going to happen, might turn him face, which might also be an interesting one. So, yeah, I sort of wrapped the Andrade and the Fiend and Alexa thing together because it seemed to make sense. I just it's a really weird one with the Fiend, because I'm glad he's on Raw, glad he's away from Roman, really not sure what they should do with him in future. I guess let me know in the comments if you've got any ideas what they think they should do with the Fiend going forward on Raw. Where's Raw Underground, he might be asking. It's dead! It's gone. Dave Meltzer earlier this week reported that there are no further plans for Raw Underground. It's just dead. It may come back in the future, but for now, there's nothing planned for it. It was put on, at first, temporary hiatus due to the COVID outbreak and the mixture of the NXT talent in, the extras, and the crowded nature of the gimmick. But now, with multiple of the Raw Underground stars being drafted, including Riddick Moss and Dabba-Kato, who's the one that I heard the most about being drafted and mixed throughout the roster, it's looking like there's no further plans, and if Mr. Meltzer is right, then it's just dead, it's gone, and it's sort of a shame. I've got to say, it is a shame. Look, you can say what you want about it. Was it a little bit weird having Shane McMahon running an underground fighting thing during Raw? Yeah, it was a bit weird. But at the same time, people constantly bitch and moan that WWE don't do anything different, and then as soon as they do something different, it's, why are you doing this? I don't like this, it makes no sense. And this was different. And unfortunately, I think it was just done a little bit too early. They brought Wade Barrett back into the fold now. He's literally, his background is bare knuckle boxing. He was an underground fighter, and can you imagine how different it would have been if they'd have started this now under the leadership of Wade Barrett rather than Shane McMahon? I think that would have been really, really cool, man. You'd have had that legitimacy of having Barrett there, who was literally an underground fighter, and having him run an underground fighting ring within WWE could have been really, really cool. I also think they might be trying to avoid it because there was reports maybe a week or two ago by Fightful Select that there are plans for an underground show related to NXT. Not this sort of thing, not like a underground fighting MMA style thing. Basically, there seems to be plans to do sort of a NXT of NXT kind of thing, where they show off some of the more unused talent, some of the ones that are just on the Florida loop, etc. So that could be one of the reasons they don't want to bring it back, because they don't want to have Raw Underground going on and then have NXT Underground and have it be really confusing as to why one is some shady, sleazy underground fighting ring and one is just NXT. But I just think it's a massive shame, because I really do feel like Barrett could have lent some proper credibility to this. And it's just that mayfly nature of WWE where it's like, we'll introduce this thing, but it's not going that well, let's get rid of it. Rather than trying to push it through and make it work and have people like it eventually, it's not working, scrap it, we'll try and think of something else. So it was short-lived, and I can't say that too many people are going to be gutted about it. I'm sure there's a few out there. I'm sure there's a few that are like, you know what? Raw Underground was my favourite part of Raw, and now it's gone, and I'm annoyed. But I haven't heard too many people say it. I personally think it's a shame because it was wasted potential. It's something that could have ended up being really, really good. But now it's dead and gone. So that's that for Raw Underground. You better get ready, guys, because there is a huge return set to happen soon. It's someone that we thought we would never see in WWE ever again. It's Eva Marie! Yay! That's happening apparently. Earlier this week, Cultaholic broke the news exclusively. Look at them, getting exclusive breaking news. I'm not at all jealous of them. Not at all. They broke the news that Eva Marie is apparently set to return to the Raw brand very soon. It was reported at the time that it could have been as soon as Monday, but that didn't happen, so it could be any time. I'm not going to stick too long on this subject, but yeah, I really didn't see that coming at all. I guess if we're living in a world where Lars Sullivan can come back after everything that he said and continue to be back after all the stuff that he apparently did more, I guess it's just one of those. If she's gone away and she's really improved and worked hard and she comes back and she blows us all away with this newfound Eva Marie that we're all like, bloody hell, she's changed, then that'll be fair enough. But I never really thought that she seemed all that invested. Like, it was like with so many wrestlers, it's just what they do, it's their life, it's their passion, it's what they live for, and it never seemed like that with Eva Marie. And unfortunately, I just invest more in the people that it does seem like it's everything to them. But yeah, it's good for Cultaholic getting that exclusive breaking news. Again, not at all jealous of them. And it's good for Eva Marie too. At the end of the day, I don't wish ill on anyone just because I'm not a mark for them. I wish her all the best, and I hope that it comes back. I hope that it comes to it. She comes back and we're like, wow, she has massively changed, she's improved in all areas, and she's now one of the best parts of Raw. I can't see it happening, but I really hope that it can. Why is it happening? I don't know. Who made it happen? I don't know. But we'll wait and see what happens, I guess. Yeah. Before we move on from the world of Raw, I wanted to give a shout out to Dan Mahoney. I do apologise if that's not how you say your name, it's how my talkback reads it out. Anyway, I wanted to give him a shout out because this week I put out a WITD challenge. There was a tweet by WWE saying that Ricochet had 10 out of 10 technique on Raw, and I requoted that and said describe Ricochet's 10 out of 10 technique to this blind wrestling fan. Dan Mahoney answered and described what Ricochet did when it came to the chair in his match against Cedric Alexander. While the ref was distracted, hit the chair on the floor, threw it to Cedric, made it look like it attacked him. Yep, that was actually really cool. I was really glad for you to do that, Dan. So you are the guy this week. Thanks so much. Let's move on to NXT. There's quite a few things to talk about here. So, starting off, Roderick Strong and Bobby Fish became the number one contenders to Breezango's Tag Team Championships, defeating Birch and Lorcan to do so. This one I'm quite excited about. I love Breezango. Tyler Breeze and Fandango are actually really interesting characters. They're fun, and I've always been a fan of them. However, as a loyal Undisputed Era mark, this one is a bit difficult for me, because as much as I love Breezango, I really don't feel like they should be getting a win over Undisputed Era. So I do not know what should happen going forward here. I don't know whether the Undisputed Era should win, because it doesn't seem like Breezango's had that good of a run yet. They've not done anything particularly memorable or special, and I don't want it to just be the end for them, but at the same time, I don't want them going over Undisputed Era, because I feel like those four are some of the big legends of NXT at this point, and it seems, it just doesn't. I don't like it. I was trying to find an intelligent way of putting that, but I just wouldn't like it. There's a couple of different ways you could go. You could have whoever paid off Ridge Holland to attack Adam Cole come out and reveal that it was them, and that could lead to the distraction and Breezango pick up the win off that. You could have, if it was either Strong or Fish that paid Ridge Holland off, you could have someone come out and reveal that, and then Adam Cole and Kyle O'Reilly sort of attack, and they could have a bit of an Undisputed Era brawl, again allowing Breezango to pick up the win there, either by disqualification or a quick roll up. You could just have Breezango win, I guess, which would be really, really unexpected, but could also help cement them as actual legitimate contenders, because at that point they've had wins over Imperium and Undisputed Era. So yeah, there's actually quite a lot of interest going forward in this one. I think that it's pretty good. Candice LeRae became the #1 contender for Io Shirai's NXT Women's Championship with the help of her new protege, friend, conspirator, lackey, whatever you want to call her, Indy Hartwell. Candice was facing off against Shotzi Blackheart, and then towards the end of the match, Indy Hartwell slipped Candice the brass knuckles. Candice just decks Shotzi Blackheart and picks up the win, and she's the #1 contender. So thanks, Indy Hartwell, I guess, or especially if you're Candice LeRae. Really thank you there. And yeah, this one sort of fits in with the overarching story, because we also got Johnny Gargano attacking Damian Priest after he successfully retained his North American Championship, and William Regal announced that Gargano would get a shot at the North American Championship at Halloween Havoc, which is when Candice is getting her shot. The drama of this, though, is that those matches will have stipulations, and they're not going to be decided by Regal. They're not going to be decided by Shotzi Blackheart. It's going to be spin the wheel, make a deal. So that should be fairly interesting. I've never really watched a Halloween Havoc show, and I haven't really. I think I've seen a few shows where they've used spin the wheel, make the deal. I'm pretty sure they've done it on Raw within the last decade or so since I've been watching, but it doesn't happen all too often, and it certainly hasn't happened in NXT, and I'm really excited to see what they do, because I'm sure any of the stipulations will probably be interesting. I can't see it being any of the majorly out there stips like Buried Alive. I mean, Damian Priest versus Johnny Gargano in a Buried Alive match would probably be really entertaining. But yeah, I'm really excited to see what they do with this. It's cool that Halloween Havoc is getting turned into this actual, it's getting turned into an event. It's not an actual pay-per-view, but it may as well be, because they're really stacking the deck for it. So I'm really, really excited to see where this goes. And once again, we're asked with the question, are the Garganos going to become NXT's resident power couple? And I really want it to happen. I wanted it to happen at TakeOver 31, and now with the added stipulations, I feel like the Garganos can use whatever stipulation comes up to their advantage, and they can pick up the win, and I just want to see it happen. It's an interesting way to go, and I want it to. There's no other way to put it other than I just want it to happen. I'd love to hear what you guys think. Should they make them the power couple? Or do you just really like Damian Priest as champ and want to see him get a bit more of a reign? Where do you think they're going to go with the Roderick Strong and Bobby Fish thing? Should they pick up the win against Breezango? Yeah, that one is also just really interesting. As for Finn Balor, last week I said that I was really glad that he didn't have to relinquish the title, and it's not yet decided that he's gonna that he doesn't have to. He earlier this week underwent surgery on his jaw, and Regal said that he's now gonna keep an eye on Balor's recovery over the next few weeks before they make a decision. So presumably, if Balor's healing up nicely and he's healing up fast, then it'll be we don't have to take the title off him. But if there's complications or he's not healing as fast as they want, then they might end up vacating the title. Vacant, you are a title stealing bastard. But yeah, I really hope that doesn't have to be the case, because I've really enjoyed Finn's work recently. Actually, a pretty interesting episode of NXT. There was a few other things, but those were the three really big things that I wanted to talk about. On Smackdown, we got the return of Daniel Bryan. He's been gone for a few months. Brie had another baby, and apparently he just wanted to go away and be a dad, enjoy some time with Birdie and Buddy, and just enjoy having time with the family, which is fair enough. And now he's back, which is great, because it's another star for the SmackDown roster, which is currently stacked with stars. And I wasn't sure what they were going to do with him. I heard the news earlier in the week that he was coming back, and I was like, what are they going to do with Bryan? And he seems to be getting mixed in with the Seth Rollins Mysterio's feud. And it's a shame. It's a shame that he's come back as a face, because I prefer Bryan as a heel. I actually think he gives really good performances as a heel. And along with Seth, I feel like that could have been a really cool team up. I feel like Bryan could have played the disciple role really well, and it could have been quite intriguing. But instead, Seth comes out and confronts Bryan and tells him that he's a smart man, and surely he knows that Seth Rollins' vision is the best thing. He knows that Seth wants the best for everyone, and basically asks him to join him. But Bryan tells Seth that he's short-sighted, self-centered, and self-absorbed, and dumb, which leads to Seth attacking Bryan whilst screaming, "You're dumb, Bryan! You're dumb! You're dumb!" which tickled me a lot. I couldn't stop laughing. I don't know why, it was just the absurd nature of Seth attacking him, screaming, "You're dumb!" It was great. But after that, the Mysterios came out. They tried to attack Seth. Seth tried to avoid them and run away, but Murphy came out and he attacked Rollins, and then it tried to extend an olive branch to the Mysterios, but they weren't having it, and it all just sort of broke down. So where Bryan is going to fit into this in the future, I don't know. And I don't know whether he's just going to move on, whether this was a one-time thing, but I feel like there's a place for him in that feud. I don't particularly know whether he's the one that picks Buddy Murphy up out of the dirt and dusts him off and takes him under his wing instead, sort of like what the Drew Gulak thing was. I could see that happening, and that'd be pretty interesting. Or whether Bryan does end up joining Seth, or whether when Seth is done with the Mysterios, they move on to having a feud between those two. I don't know, but I was really pleased to see Bryan being put against Seth, and I hope that they continue to mix things up, because those two together, good might work. They'll have good matches, and there's just a lot of good to have there. So yeah, Daniel Bryan's back, yay! One hello, one goodbye. Daniel Bryan's back, and the New Day say farewell. They had one final match against Cesaro, Sheamus and Nakamura. Cesaro and Sheamus back together for one match, and Nakamura in there, which is, those three would have been a really cool team, and it's a shame that Nakamura didn't join them when they were at the bar. Anyway, I'm not talking about that, I'm talking about the New Day. And the finish of the match, Michael Cole completely dropped the ball on. It was just, it talked about the fact that they tagged and this would allow for the double team because of the 5-second rule or whatever, and then it was Sheamus, flattened, Big E, cover, and the New Day win. And it's just one of those where it's just like, come on Cole, this is a huge moment, and you can't even be bothered to call the actual name of the move. Thank God for podcasts that I can go and watch that recap and do your goddamn job for you, Michael, because at the end of the day, that's like a highly charged emotional moment. It's a big part of the storyline. It's their final, or for now, final win, and Michael Cole just drops the ball on it. But this one, I sort of expected one of them to turn. I thought that they were going to have an actual, a final breakup, but they didn't. They just put the pin in it. It's just, in Big E's own words, it's just a pause. It's a hiatus. They had a really emotional interview where Xavier Woods in particular was very, very emotional. Talked about the fact that the entire time he's been a wrestler, he spent his time trying to look for the people that he needed to surround himself with to make it what he knew he could be, and that was Big E and Kofi, and all three of them had some really emotional words to say, and it's really cool that they managed to have these three just really come together and lift each other up and have such good times together. And the fact that they're so emotional and the fans are so emotional, I'm really glad that they didn't do the breakup. I was expecting it to be a full breakup, for Big E to turn on them and make himself all serious and go heel, or for Woods and Kofi to go heel and attack him. But no, they didn't do any of that. It was just, they go out on a high, they get the win, and now there's just a pin in it, and they'll come back to it eventually. But for now, Big E's getting a single run, and I really hope that this means that they've got big plans for Big E. I hope that they really do pull the trigger on him, because it's not going to take much. This in itself is a really big stepping stone for Big E. He's had this big emotional moment, and going forward, they can really play up on he's reeling from this massive life event that's happened, and it can either flip a switch or it can make him struggle. There's any number of ways that they can go with it, and I really hope that they do pull the trigger, because by the time the Royal Rumble comes around, by the time Elimination Chamber and WrestleMania come around, I really want to see him going against Roman. I don't know whether they would have him beat Roman, but I really want to see him with a title. At the very, very least, I'd like to see him defeat Sami Zayn and become the Intercontinental Champion. But yeah, a really emotional goodbye for now from the New Day, and I thought that it was a really great moment. Finally, we got the next chapter in the Roman Reigns Jey Uso storyline, and I'm starting to think that I'm going to be right. I'm starting to think that after the I Quit match, Jey is going to have to swear his loyalty to Roman and do everything that he says and be his bitch. Because this week, Roman defeats Braun Strowman, takes a chair to Strowman, Uso comes out, sort of looks like he's going to try and stop it. Roman tells him to make his choice, puts the chair on the ground, turns his back on Jey, and just waits. And then eventually Jey actually attacks Roman with the steel chair. He's made his choice, and now Roman's real mad. I love that he said that he loves Jey, which he's said multiple times throughout this feud, and Jey just unloads with the chair, and he's going, "You love me? I love you too! I love you too!" And he's just hammering away with the chair shots, and I just cannot get enough of this storyline, man. It's great. Roman is this really tough, cold guy. He's just, the way he sees it, he's trying to put food on the table for the family, and Jay is just making an absolute arse of himself. The way Jay sees it is Roman has turned his back on the family. He's treating Jay like he's not family, like he's not blood, turning his back on him, and they're both so justified in their own heads, and you can see the motivations, and it's just, they've just done so goddamn well with this, man. I really wouldn't have thought that this would have ended up so good, but it's going to be really interesting to see what he makes Jay do after Jay says I quit, because we all know that Roman's not going to have to say I quit. No way Jay is walking out of that I quit Hell in a Cell match as the victor, and it's just one of those. I can't wait to see what happens, because I love that. I love trying to tempt him over, trying to turn Jay to the dark side. You know, attack Strowman, align yourself with me. It can all go so much easier for you. You can show me that you think that I'm the tribal chief, that I'm the one in charge, I'm the head of the table, and all he had to do was pick the chair up and attack Strowman. And instead he just went for Roman instead, and you can completely see why he went for him. At the same time, you can completely see, whether you agree with him or not, you can completely see why Roman is mad at Jay here, and I just think that it's been masterfully done. What a next chapter. It's just getting better and better as it goes along, and what a first feud for Roman to have after winning the championship. This one is just really, really good. Well, that's it for this week, guys. If you've got any thoughts on any of the topics from this week, or anything you want me to talk about next week, you know where the comments section is. I'll see you next week. Be happy, stay safe, but for now I'm off, and you should have a good one.